Hello, barristers and blunt objects. My name is TB Skyn, and welcome back to Great Ace Attorney, where we face a critical turning point in the case where we either keep playing the game or say, oh, well, I guess our client is guilty, let's just give up and lose. It's not as dramatic a choice, of course, as the game likes to present it, but it's a compelling narrative beat, because one of the things that the protagonist in Ace Attorney games has to do always is decide to believe in their client. Decide to believe that their client is innocent and that the truth will come out so long as you never stop pursuing it. That's part of the idealism that we've talked about before, is very much a part of this game's ethos. So, the defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards for judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried.
Objection!
He needs a better objection. But if it's all right, it's all right. I believe it could prove vital in this trial. The defense's petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. This is madness. This is Sparta! Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready?
I'm not there's no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so,
All members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they've reached their decision.
on what grounds?
You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believe the defendant to be guilty.
Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot.
This is most irregular. No mention was made of this before.
I don't really hold with all this justifying, Locke. That seems to have thrown the jurors off.
It seems none of them have experienced this before.
All right then, the summation examination. A defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years, is it? Well, just maybe. It might be the opportunity we've been looking for, to turn this trial around. So be it then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant, Mr. Magnus guilty of this most serious crime. What a Santa Claus.
There's no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him.
I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence.
He's talking to the chap next to him, just like this. Brazen, I must say, absolutely brazen.
I have simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far and draw the logical conclusion.
You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised the prices above 4 pence for years.
4 pence? Hang on. 4 times 4 does not equal 20.
The scoundrel stabbing the poor man on the floor. It beggars belief.
Also, the victim was not stabbed on the floor. I'm starting to wish I hadn't... What? Really? You got so many openings, Ryunosuke! But you'll see. I will guide you to them, my friend. Have no fear.
Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments, though, do they?
Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I'll have to throw everything I can at them and use some very persuasive language.
Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. According to my book, that's not quite how it works.
Oh? I thought I was going to have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant.
Unfortunately, once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says.
But then...
They've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become.
Then what on earth am I supposed to do?
Oh dear. I'm just citing what I've read about British law, Mr. Naruhodo.
Right. I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work, then?
Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments.
What do you mean?
Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a united front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom together.
And that's the way to break them down, you mean?
Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says, and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other.
I see. So it's contradictions in what 2 or more jurors say that we're looking for. In a way, then, this is similar to regular cross-examination.
Oh, yes, I suppose you're right.
Find contradictions in their statements and pit the jurors against one another to break them down. All right, I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off. Can we start proceedings, counsel? I would ask you to take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal. Yes, my lord. This should be fun. This is new.
Is no one else inside the carriage in the time? Sure as you've been him.
I trust the driver. Four passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. My. Let's see if this works, because, I've noticed the math problem here, that 4 passengers cannot have generated 20 pence with the fare of 4 pence. So let's see. Here goes.
Objection.
They do? Explain yourself, Castle.
Me? Oh dear, what have I said?
I swear a silver Blyce's name of mine. I haven't first idea what you're talking about.
According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus the night in question. And according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares.
Quite right. I have those precise details typed neatly here in front of me.
And juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence.
There it is. A fair and convenient single price. That's the way London's carriages should be operated.
But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts.
Why, man? Why?
Math, dude. 4 passengers paying 4 pence each. If you do the multiplication...
It would be 16 pence.
Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact... Or precisely, 1 person's fare.
1 person's fare?
Yes. In other words, on the omnibus that night, it's distinctly possible there was another passenger we've heard nothing about.
Good gracious. This can't be right. The coachman of the Guild of Good Honest Men, one and all. Trustworthiness is our watchword.
The figures your coachman claims most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy.
I beg your pardon.
Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he lets nefarious characters ride his omnibus.
Alright then, yeah. How do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end then?
Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire onto the innocent side of the set of scales.
Hold your horses there, coachman. We were all in agreement. Wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo.
Oh, this is all very irritating. I need to give him a different voice from the coachman, so,
Begging your pardon, sir, I'm going to do the same.
Presumably, Mr. Count von Vampire over there, won't let this slide.
For the love of Mike, not you as well.
A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in financial matters.
Oh, really?
I, for one, think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo, you did it. If we can manage to change 2 more jurors' minds, we can force the trial to continue.
2 more. Actually, there is something else that's bothering me about a couple of their assertions.
Then that's where you must strike next.
So need to pit 2 more jurors against each other and show there's another contradiction in their assertions.
Exactly. You can do it.
We know where it is, too.
Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavily on the side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your summation examination.
This is cool. I like this. Mm-hmm. Right. Stabbing him on the floor? Stabbing him next. So I'm reasonably sure that's the one.
Objection.
Those 2 statements are completely contradictory.
What? Explain, counsel, post haste.
Oh, dearie me. I was only knitting a jumper for my other half. What's all this about this claptrap? What's contradictory even mean, I ask you?
We've heard from more than one witness that they allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3...
Can't you see I'm busy here?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it?
Want to chest me, do you? It was like this. Stuck the fella next to you without even getting up, just like the prim banker said.
Yes, that was Mr. Fairplay's testimony, quite true.
Now then, juror number 6.
Oh, is that me, is it? What can I do for you, young man?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam?
Oh, well, dear, as far as I understand it, it was like this. He stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so.
Now don't move! Take a look at those 2 jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up, and he stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor.
Well, they're stabbing in totally different directions.
What?
Bless my stitches. What a muddle.
What this tells us is that there's a strong possibility one of these witnesses isn't telling the truth.
Oh. But why? Why the dickens would they lie?
I don't know that yet, but what I do know is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in all good conscience?
Oh, yes, you say. Oh, dearie me. I can't abide peeping telling lies. The scales.
I don't believe it.
3 on 3, huh?
Why? Now here this, my fellow jurors, I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him in his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using magic on us all.
There's the racism again. If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through all this?
Answer me this, Dark Jix.
Huh? Me?
What exactly is the problem? What of it if 2 witnesses have slightly different recollections of events?
What of it?
I say, Shylock just stabbed the victim as he was...
Shylock. Fuck, stop using that word.
Stabbed the victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus. And this young dandy saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor and then the Shylock stabbed him again. And this old lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say it didn't happen like that, huh?
What are you calling it, dandy, sir? Why I should take this knife to you? Who are you calling old? Why I should take this needle to you?
They're ready to kill each other now. But could the foreman of the jury be right? Did the 2 witnesses see 2 different moments of the same crime? It's out of the question. Do you know why? Single stab wound to the abdomen. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman,
What is it, you dog jinx? Come on, out with it! What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question. What? What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realise that I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have a responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence, man? That's what we want to see. I say the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime. If you say that's out of the question, show me some proof. It looks like the only way I'm going to convince him is to present him with something he can't dismiss. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish. What? I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question that the two witnesses saw the different moments of the same crime as proven by
the autopsy report.
This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen only once. Oh? Only once? It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely one time. Which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen 2 different times. Alright, I can say defeat. Wait, that means 4 jurors are now leaning to not guilty.
We've done it, Mr. Naruhodo.
We've won. Well, we've won the examination, perhaps, at best. Why are you playing at, you dandy fool? Shut your trap, sir. No one saves me. Well, we had a consensus. I said shut your trap. I no lie when I see one. And if the chap ever dares cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take this razor-sharp blade and shave every last hair off his head. Please tell me he's a barber. Why is he licking it? Ew. Well, in quite a remarkable turn of events, the defense summation examination has flipped the scales with the scales of justice. The jurors now stand at 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jury for me to adjudicate. The trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places. And I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. So, Lord Van Six, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please. Are you ever gonna drink? Or you could do that. Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of this hallowed chalice, it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Six. Oh, is it cold in here or is it just me? As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a summation examination. So I honored the deathly silence and listened to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Yeah, insult them, that'll help. Well, no matter. There is nothing so hard to prove a self-evident truth, it would seem. No, and why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence, after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Bring forth the witnesses once more. Ooh, drama. Hello, liars. Witnesses. I trust you heard the summation examination we have just had to endure. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Of course I heard it.
Oh, yes, sir. I heard it.
You, sir, on the other hand, the coachman, I believe it's Beppo. Yes, sir, my lord, sir. If it transpires that in your previous testimony, you were attempting to veil the presence of a 5th passenger in your omnibus, You'll be found guilty of perjury. You're advised to bear that in mind, sir. Now then, witnesses, I hereby call on you to testify before the court again. You'll explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination. Careful passengers that no, I swear it. Well, I for one was told I had to pay 5p for the bus.
He fiddled us on the fare, he did. And then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much.
I tell you, I saw McGilda stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands. Yeah, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so, yes. Think so, do you? Think so? Counsel, make sense of this for me, please. The phantom fifth passenger conjured into existence by my learned Eastern friend never existed. The confusion is arisen from the coachman's sly little cousinage. Beppo, explain yourself. Terribly sorry, Guildmaster. The Guild's fare is 4p across the board. You know what? Am I to understand that you've been overcharging our passengers by a penny a fare? It's so cold in the last run of the day, so it was half empty. You've been dishonest, Coachman. I'm sorry. You're a disgrace, Beppo. A disgrace. Your selfish actions have brought dishonour on the entire guild.
If I may, sir, I had to pay 10p on the bus just last week.
What?
4 passengers at 5p each is, yes, 20p. I've done that arithmetic 10 times already, but I just can't make the result come out differently.
Well, it's math. No, that figures. Figures. Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. Shit, I'm doing the wrong accent. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, if you please. We've already had the pleasure of protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlor games. Absolutely. The passengers that night, I swear it. Well, I for one was told I had to pay 5p for the bus. Okay, let's just press everything, shall we?
Hold it!
So, there were only 4 passengers in your carriage, but you didn't charge them the standard 4p fare. Is that right? It's impossible to make the last run of the day. Pay. It was so cold as well that you could stop us from passing out. I'm getting chilblains just listening to you. It was terrible, so I wanted to give myself a pat on the back for even keeping the bus running. Maybe the guild should, like, fucking pay their drivers properly. It doesn't dedicate a coachman to serving a passenger. You're digging a deeper hole for yourself here. If only there had been a 5th passenger on the omnibus that night, then we would have had another suspect. What did you notice there, Funseeks?
Hold it!
Does that mean everyone on board that night paid 5p instead of 4?
Well, I paid 5p too, sir.
No, I just told you that I did.
A flat fare for 5p across the board.
Is not something to be proud of. The so-called discrepancy my learned friend identified was nothing of the sort. Much like the phantom killer you so desperately needed, it's gone. Dead and buried. I'd have been happy if it ever existed in the first place. I felt it was on the fair he did, and then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much.
Hold it!
This blood-curdling sight, you mean the murder, I presume?
Yes, sir. A loathsome sight. No one should have to witness the horror in the eyes of a man the moment his life is taken. Is that something you know from experience, Judge? Not exactly, sir. I mean, I didn't actually see the exact moment the jet was stabbed.
Oh, gracious. Really? We have another witness who did, however. The banker has already testified to it.
But Mr. First didn't actually see the point at which the victim was killed. That may turn out to be very significant.
I heard the banker jet next to me take a shot and take a breath, see? That's when I looked through the glass. That's when I saw that horrible blade poking out from his belly, all covered in blood. Every time I see a knife now, I can't help screaming, even when I'm eating.
I tell you, I saw McGildy stabbing that man. Everything but said before stands.
Hold it!
Okay. So, you saw the defendant, Mr. McGildet, stabbing the victim, Mr. Mason, who was sitting next to him.
That's what I said, isn't it?
It was bothering me before, this was. For just a brief moment, he hesitated before answering the question.
Anyway, there was only the two of them inside the carriage, wasn't there?
There has been much talk of a fifth passenger, but as yet, zero evidence.
Then what are we wasting all this time for, right? It's black and white. The man's guilty.
Something about Mr. Fairplay's testimony just jars with me. I wish I could work out what it was.
I think so, yes.
Hold it!
Earlier, you testified that you saw the moment when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you?
Yes, that's right.
You said that the victim was on the floor and described the assailant holding the knife in an ice pick grip.
Well, I suppose. I might have, put the cart before the horse, maybe.
What's this?
Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. I was driving the horses when I screamed from the seats about the roof deck. Oh, I expect that was me, sir. And when I turned around, yes, I saw it through the skylight. The gentleman was on the floor, and then the knife was sticking up out of his midriff. That's right, yes. And the fellow holding the handle was the famous man, yes.
So, in short, you didn't see the moment when the victim was actually stabbed at all.
Well, I really thought that I did, but when I could go over everything in my head, no, I suppose I didn't actually see the precise moment of the stabbing, did I?
Subtle.
Wow. Don't give away. I wonder what he's like in poker.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay?
Now, you listen to me. I know what you're thinking. He didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that?
Are you asking me or telling me? He's getting flustered. I might be able to extract some new information from him if I answer him cleverly. Could he have just happened to see the exact moment the crime was committed?
Some days are like that. Let's try no chance. I don't know.
Well, it is a little hard to believe, certainly. Unless you spend your time peeping through a skylight on the top of an omnibus, that is.
Peeping? I'm a very respectable city banker, I'll have you know. And I know what I saw. I remember it as clear as a baller at day. It was a grim scene, I don't mind telling you.
Thank you, Mr. Fairplay.
Oh, excuse me if I was getting a little hot on the collar there, my lord.
I would ask you to supplement your testimony with a clear statement about what exactly you saw.
Oh, yeah, I could do that, alright? I'll tell you just how grim it was. You think I'd forget the sight of those blood-soaked hands after that butcher stabbed the man?
Hands.
Hold it!
Blood-soaked?
Ahem. Well, perhaps soaked is laying it on a little thick, but... Well, anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it.
And you saw that from the roof? Through the skylight?
Well, the skylight's reasonably large, so I had a pretty good view. And there was a lamp inside the coach as well, so I'm quite sure of what I saw.
This banker's latest statement. I feel there's something not quite right about it.
Yeah, it's the gloves. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything to press. This is where we present the glove!
Blood-soaked hands.
Well, I admit it's soaked, maybe laying it on a little thick, but... Well, anyway, there was definitely blood all over him. Both of them were covered in it.
Well, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay, but that's more than a little peculiar.
What?
Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGilded, on the night in question.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And there certainly does appear to be a sizable dark-colored stain there. But as I'm sure you can clearly see, it's only on the right-hand glove.
Definitely. I think I know why he had to borrow money. It's because he lost it in poker. It has to be.
In short, Mr. Fairplay, your testimony is inconsistent.
But, no, that can't be right.
So you're the liar here, then? That's right. You were quite clear about it. You said it was both ends.
Mr. Fairplay, if your last statement was a lie, it calls your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is this really the truth?
Objection.
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't both hands. It was only one. But the fact remains. The victim's blood was on the accused.
Objection.
No, Mr. Fairplay categorically stated that he saw blood all over both hands, which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court.
Well, why? I'm a city banker, for pity's sake. My word should be the gold standard. I'm a gentleman, not some gutter snipe. Upstanding members of society don't prevaricate.
He's claiming to have no reason to lie. But is that really the case?
Mr. Naruhodo, if we had some evidence to explain why Mr. Fairplay might be lying, it could turn the tide in this trial completely.
I have evidence that he has compelling reason to lie.
My lord?
Yes, counsel?
The defense is ready to present evidence.
By Jove, are you sure?
Yes, evidence that will clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay had reason to lie in his testimony.
Yeah, well, wait. Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present his evidence. The evidence that demonstrates a motive for the witness's alleged deception of the court.
Take that.
This is a list of the debtors who owe money to Mr. McGilded?
Yes, a list of innocent victims crippled by the accused extortion.
The point is, among the names of these debtors is your name, Mr. Bruce Fairplay.
What? Mr. Fairplay, are you currently indebted financially to the accused? No, well, it's barely worth you being called a debt.
According to this ledger, you owe 20 guineas. Not an inconsiderable sum of money, would you say?
Well, what of it?
Let's suppose Mr. McGilded were to be found guilty of murder. What would become of your debt in that case?
Well, these documents state that the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, the creditor, or the defendant here, to be sentenced to a capital punishment. All outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled. They would cease to exist.
Cease to exist?
Mr. Fairplay, is it not the case that you claimed in your testimony had to have seen something you never in fact saw, in a devious attempt to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant? Order! 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 Mr. Bruce Fairplay.
Yes, my lord.
Let me ask you again. And be aware that your answer may have the most serious implications upon your future, sir. Did you, or did you not, see the precise moment in time at which the defendant is alleged to have thrust a knife into the victim? Your silence speaks volumes. You did not tell the truth in your testimony.
All right, let's not make a melodrama out of this.
You're the one chewing on your cane.
Perhaps I did overstate the truth a pinch.
A pinch?
But it makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing blood in Mr. McGillicud's hands, both of them.
Objection.
And yet, only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have here as evidence, is stained.
So you keep sighing.
I wonder if I might be allowed to speak, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. First.
Well, the thing is, I think I remember seeing it myself as it happens.
Seeing what?
Well, the blood, sir, on the assailant's ends. I think, yeah. I'm almost sure that it was on both of his ends, not just one.
What? What? Well, isn't that interesting? Because we have gloves that say that there wasn't blood on both hands. It would appear that we're going to need further testimony from all you witnesses. This time, I would like to know precisely what you did and what you did not say. Do I make myself perfectly clear?
Yours, yellow, my lord.
Mr. Naruhodo, this is good news. The course of the trial seems to have shifted slightly at last.
Yes. I might finally have a chance to turn things around here.
There was blood on both hands of the assailant. I sincerely and distinctly remember that. However, I suppose you might say that I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that matters.
I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both of the attacker's hands with blood on them. I didn't actually see anything myself, not until I heard that scream.
Anyway, the fact remains there can't have been anyone else inside that carriage, or we all would have seen.
Well, lo and behold, in truth of fact, not one of you was witness to the crucial moment the crime was perpetrated.
Well, I apologise, my lord, but honestly, there was no one else inside that carriage, and the man's hands were covered in blood. That much incriminating evidence is tantamount to saying we saw the man do it.
That's really not what testimony is about. Let us examine the interior of the omnibus once more. The victim's fresh blood is clearly visible on the seat, corroborating the witness's accounts. In other words, there is no substantial nor significant change in the facts of the case. Very well. Your cross-examination, please, counsel. Yes, my lord.
There was blood on both hands of the assailant.
Let's just press everything, shall we? No, the evidence tells us otherwise. We have the gloves the defendant was wearing on the night in question in the court record.
Well, I'm well aware of that, sir, but nevertheless, I know what I saw and I stand by it. The man had blood on both his hands.
He's defiant, even in the face of hard evidence. He's steadfastly refusing to admit that he might be mistaken about what he saw, but why? Your reasoning is dire. One hand or two, the salient point remains unchanged. Minutes after the grim crime, the victim's blood dripped guiltily from the accused's fingers.
Hold it!
Don't try to downplay this. Whether or not you saw the exact moment of the crime, is a matter of fundamental importance, as well you know.
Yeah, but for crying out loud, we all know that no one else could have possibly done it. It was just we're trying to save us all some time.
You have a loan of 20 guineas outstanding with the defendant, do you not? Had you hoped to release yourself from that financial burden by ensuring the defendant was found guilty?
That's not entirely not what I was hoping for. I just lost little guinea or 10 when I backed the wrong horse in the derby, that's all. I was going to win it all back. There's a fixture this weekend, that's a sure thing.
A little guinea or 10?
I'm a banker. No one bets an eye if I borrow a little spending money for the weekend. Your clients might.
I think you may have revealed rather more about your character than you bargained for, sir. This witness's scruples are not on trial here. Proceed to the next witness. Is that really how it's supposed to work?
Hold it!
You definitely saw that too? Blood on both hands?
Yes, sir. I mean, I know what you're going to say. Only one of Mr. McGillicuddy's gloves have any sign of blood on it.
That's right.
The thing is, as far as I remember, sir, when I looked down and saw Mr. McGillicuddy sitting beside the other fellow, I don't believe he was wearing any gloves, sir.
He wasn't wearing these gloves?
That's correct, sir. And I saw the blood on both his bare hands quite clearly.
It's true that the dark-colored stain on the dark leather gloves wouldn't have been easy to see. I should point out that the police officer who apprehended the accused on the night in question reported that there was no trace of blood on Mr. McGillicuddy's glove of the hands. There wasn't blood on his hands? Well, this is puzzling indeed. This must be significant somehow, I'm sure of it. Yeah, like, it means that if they saw the assailant with blood on his hands and Mr. McGillicuddy didn't have blood on his hands, like, where would he have washed it off exactly?
Hold it!
You didn't see anything?
Oh, yes, sir. It's just saying, no, sir. I'm very sorry about what was said before, sir. I was very sorry, yes. It was very wrong of me to make up stories and say I saw him stab the man. Wouldn't you agree, sir?
I know what you're insinuating, but I certainly wasn't making up stories.
Still, to say you saw nothing isn't right either, is it?
No, sir. I saw nothing at all.
Mr. Beppo, you were driving your horses. At the very least, you must have enjoyed a good view of London streets, no? Oh, please, you didn't even see that?
It was cold that night, you see. It was all I could do to keep from passing out, sir. Yes, it was fairly frozen solid, sorry to say, sir.
It would seem prudent to avoid travel on the last omnibus service of London's cold winter nights.
Beppo!
Hold it!
Let's just press the last statement there. And everything you saw of the incident was through the skylight on the roof of the omnibus?
That's right. It was fiercely cold that night, but the glass wasn't frosted over.
Oh, yes. I remember I was shivering. It was so bitter.
Which rather begs the question of why the pair of you were sitting on the roof deck in the first place.
Well, I don't know about this young fellow, but I couldn't enter the cabin.
Oh? Why not?
It was locked from the inside. I tried knocking, but no one opened the door.
It was locked.
That's right. It's a public bus service, pity's sake. That's not what I call fair play.
Yeah, I had exactly the same experience. I tried knocking, but the gent beside just gestured at me to clear off. So I had no choice but to climb up on the roof deck and look down longingly into the warm cabin below.
Well, I can assure you, I wasn't just looking down, I was glaring long and hard. And that's precisely why I can tell you with absolute confidence that if there was anyone else in that cabin, I would have noticed. Unequivocal, I would say.
I'm not sure about these two witnesses. Could they really have seen everything inside the cabin through the skylight?
They might not have been able to.
Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay. You were riding this omnibus and witnessed the events in the cabin through the skylight and the floor of the upper deck. Is that right?
That's right, yes.
In that case, there's a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight from you.
What?
Macaulay, really? Obviously, at this stage, we can't say for sure. But the possibility cannot be denied that at the time of the incident, there could have been another passenger in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus.
Objection!
Enough hypothetical meandering, my Nipponese friend. The prosecution demands that you substantiate your claims. After all, the scene of the crime is here in the flesh.
Very well, I will uphold the prosecution's demand. You will identify the area on this cross-sectional plan of the omnibus. Where exactly in the omnibus are you suggesting that this potential extra passenger could have been situated?
Well, here, obviously.
Hope I press right.
Take that!
Both rows of seats on the roof face in the direction of travel, whereas the seats in the enclosed cabin face each other, which means the visible part of the cabin, which passengers on the roof deck can see through the skylight, is as I've drawn here.
Ah.
That's right, my lord. As you can see, the seat opposite the one on which the victim and his attacker were sitting is obscured from view. In other words, if someone had been sitting on that seat, it is quite possible that these witnesses would have been completely unaware of it.
I kind of enjoy making his noises.
Objection!
It's quite possible some phantom was sitting there. You Nipponese have a forbidding habit of obscuring the truth with ambiguity.
Stop with the fucking racism for 2 seconds, would you?
I concur with the prosecutor's rejoinder. In a British court of law, evidence is paramount. I cannot entertain this conjecture, counsel. That is, unless you're able to put a name on this mysterious passenger to whom you allude.
Can you, Mr. Naruhodo? I honestly don't know. Who could it have been? Who could it have been in the other seat, which was out of sight from the witnesses on the roof deck?
I have a thought that it's probably Magnus. So I'm gonna run with that.
I understand, my lord. The defense would like to put forward a name.
Where is he getting those glasses?
You are a fool. That response was a desperate attempt by a man who has no notion of his own limitations. A toast to art lessons not yet learned.
Let us not delay, counsel. The defense is still today the passenger in the other seat.
This could be it. This could be the chance I've been waiting for to turn the trial in my favor. On that night, on the night of the murder, the person occupying the seat in the omnibus cabin that was obscured from view was...
I better be right about this.
Take that!
I think I am.
The passenger in the enclosed cabin that the witnesses on the roof deck failed to see has to have been Mr. Magnus McGilded. Mr. McGilded?
What are you talking about, counsel? That's the name of the defendant.
Objection!
If I desecrate this chamber by smashing my hallowed chalice, do forgive the discourtesy.
Lord sakes. People talk of those tiny island nations in the Far East as having learning and the culture of their own. But I see the use of the terms ill-advised.
Would you stop it with the racism? Jesus Christ, dude. What are you trying to say?
Let me explain in terms that even a student of an artless backwater such as yourself might understand. When the bloody scene unfolded, the victim and his assailant were sitting side by side. Multiple witnesses have attested to this fact. It is the very premise on which this case is built.
Objection.
But that premise may be wrong.
What?
If the victim really was sitting beside Mr. McGilded, it creates an inconsistency that can't be reconciled in any way.
What inconsistency, Castle?
The defendant's gloves, my lord. Both witnesses made the same testimony. They claim that there was blood on both hands of the person sitting next to the victim.
Objection.
Yet we know the truth to be otherwise. Only one glove bears the gory remains.
Objection.
The point is, even in the face of this irrefutable evidence, both witnesses have maintained their stance.
Yes, their testimony remains unchanged.
Exactly. They both adamantly swear that they clearly remember seeing blood on both hands of the assailant. In short, their memory of events is correct, and their testimony reveals the truth. It was somebody else sitting beside the victim that night, a third party we have yet to identify. And the victim's blood was on that passenger's hands, both of them.
Objection.
And who was this third party?
Obviously, the true culprit.
Extraordinary. Order! 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 What exactly are you postulating?
Objection.
The defense's postulation is just that. Nothing more than conjecture. The witnesses have clearly stated that they saw the accused.
Objection.
But when elaborating on his testimony, Mr. Fairplay said the two of them were wearing hats and I couldn't exactly make out their faces.
Yes. The tops of their heads were obscured by the roof. I could see the rest of them, though.
Yeah, that's right. Both gents were most certainly hatted. Hatters do tend to notice such things, sir.
Yes, about that hat.
What particular style of hat did the two gentlemen sport, Mr. First?
I'm afraid I don't remember.
And you call yourself a hatter?
The style of hat makes no difference. There was no third passenger in that cabin.
How can you be sure?
Because if there had been, the accused Mr. McGilded would have undoubtedly offered to depose the fact.
No, he was asleep.
Unless, that is, you're proposing an even more preposterous explanation. That the accused failed to even notice the presence of the true culprit in the very cabin in which he traveled.
He's right. If there was another person traveling in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus, it's inconceivable that Mr. McGilded would have been unaware of it.
Order! There's clearly a simple solution to this problem. Bring the accused, Mr. McGilded, to the stand. Well, what say you, counsel? The prosecution objects, my lord.
On what grounds?
As a suspect, he will have already made a full statement to the police.
But what if there's some reason why he's unable to speak freely?
Magnus McGilded is no uneducated ruffian. If it indeed turns out the man has been withholding information, you can be sure it will have been a most deliberate act. Counsel for the defense, what is your opinion?
My lord, should we ask Mr. McGilded to testify or not? We do not leave well enough alone here. Yeah, we need to hear what he has to say in order to find out the truth. The defense would like to call Mr. McGilded to the stand.
Well, in that case, I would like to hear the opinion of the jury.
Yes, you know what? I need a little time to consider this.
If you ask me, I think we should hear what Mr. McGilded has to say.
Get the man out here, Si!
It would be utterly illogical not to hear his testimony.
When something needs doing, get it done. That's how I run things at the guild.
Hearing what the patron of my favourite little park has to say, oh, yes, that would be lovely.
Yes, the jury says the man must be heard.
Very well, the court will hear the defendant's testimony. Bailiff, show the defendant to the stand at once.
Now, maybe what actually happened that night will finally become clear. Oh, I have to do the Irish accent again. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm genuinely. I have Irish family. My brother's wife is Irish. I hope she never sees this. Oh God. Oh God. I hope her parents never see this. Oh, they're Dubliners. Like, oh my God. I couldn't look them in the eye. Let proceedings be resumed. Mr. McGilded, have you been listening to the discourse of the day? Okay. To be sure I have, my lord. There are two matters on which the court desires to hear from you. The first is whether or not there was a third party with you in the omnibus cabin as proposed by the defense. The second is that if such a person were indeed present, why did you conceal that fact from the police? We can't, no, 'tis not my nature to hide anything at all.
Just answer the questions, please.
The truth of the matter is, I've been desperate about this all along. Do I tell you all, or do I keep my mouth shut? Tell us what, Mr. McGilded? The fine fella representing me is absolutely right. In the carriage on the night with myself and the other man, there was another passenger.
It's true.
Aye, and 'twas me who's helped the little urchin get away after it all happened. You what?
No, Magnus McGilded. That convenient excuse can't save you even now.
I'm truly sorry I am, but Lord Van Six. I'm sure you'll be wanting to know why I said nothing when I was taken by the police. I do be having a very good reason, I assure you.
Which was?
Well, the little child was just in the wrong place at the wrong time and nothing anyway involved, you see.
What?
If the police had known the wee one was there, they'd have assumed she'd done it. They'd have hauled her into this here courtroom just like myself. I was only trying to spare her that. Young hearts and young minds are easily damaged, my lord.
And who was this young child of whom you speak?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Aye, well, the weird thing just happened to me in the carriage that night. I never saw her before or since.
Objection!
We have absolutely no reason to believe this man. The prosecution calls for the witness's statements to be disregarded by the court.
You know, it wouldn't be surprised if the urchin isn't here in this courtroom as we speak, listening to the proceedings. What? Smoke! Oh, fire! There's a fire! Look, someone's trying to get away! After them! It's no use, cuff! I can't see anything through this smoke! What's going on? Be careful, Mr. Narrowhooder. Cover your face.
Bailiff, don't let the accused escape. Secure the omnibus.
I hereby call in the emergency recess. Bailiff, ensure the defendant is in custody and clear the courtroom.
My.
We were hurriedly removed from the smoke-filled courtroom by the bailiff, amid scenes of chaos as people stumbled over one another in their desperation to flee the chamber. We had no idea what was happening. All we knew that was, for the time being at least, the trial was suspended.
Drama in the courtroom.
God. Like, I genuinely feel bad about, because that's a cartoon Irish accent. That's like, oh, me lucky charms. Like, and I'm sorry, I don't know a better one. It's the way he's written. It's the way he looks as a character. It's like, he starts with top of the morning to ya. He starts with that. What am I supposed to do? Oh, no. I'm sorry. I genuinely feel bad. Oh, good grief. And I'm going to have to do more of it, aren't I? Like, because this is, if this all takes place in the British Isles, like, there's going to be another Irish character. Oh, no. Or a Scotsman. Oh, no. So long as they don't bring on an Australian, I should be fine, because
You don't want to hear me trying to do Australian. You really don't. I don't want to do Australian. I'll just give him an American accent. Fuck it. Anyway, if you want, if oh god, if you've enjoyed hanging out in the world of Great Ace Attorney with me, then you can hit the like, comment, and subscribe buttons down below. I'm laughing because I know what I'm going to have to do, and it's terrible. And if you want to watch more Great Ace Attorney right now, then there's an outside chance that more is available via channel memberships, because I upload these videos in a bunch, all at once, and then I set them live over time. So, there might be some more episodes available for that. You can check the playlist, and if there's some videos there that you can't watch, it'll be because memberships. I also have a Patreon, a merchandise store, and a tip jar. You can use them if you want to. If you don't want to, you absolutely do not have to. Yeah, and outside of that, thank you very much for watching. Remember to wear a mask, wash your hands, and take such vaccines as are necessary to beat this goddamn disease into submission. And try to act with solidarity towards those who are worse off than yourself.